Hold on. How goes it? This is this is um it's a video. This is a video game. So it's Stardew Valley. It's a good game. It's well made, pixels, and farming. I like these kind of things. I think a lot of the times people kind of skip out on. Sorry, just drinking some water here. But I think a lot of times people usually skip out on the small things in life, and you know, I like this type of like medium in a way because it like gives you time to think things over and have something to do in the background while you're, I don't know, like stressed out or like just like a daily ritual, even almost like washing your face. Like you can pretty much go and do anything you want to in the game and have your or thoughts sorted out. That's kind of why, you know, like people don't really ever stop doing things either. It can be helpful in day to day. I'm one of those people who likes to have like a background task, you know? I can never just be like sitting down doing nothing. I have to be doing something. I'm always on go mode, very restless mind. But like that's like that's also linked to like intelligence. Like intelligent people don't ever like to feel like they're doing nothing, you know? And just having that like that prospect of the social, you know, portion of it too. Because I don't really like other people at all. I don't think I've met a lot of people, and throughout my time spent on Earth, I haven't met if even I can count on one hand the amount of people that I actually like and who actually, you know, add anything really. But it's not like a meanness. It's not me being mean. It's just I don't know. And that could be just like a sort of thing. It's kind of why I sit down for a little bit and do this sort of thing where I can, I don't know, sit and talk to the world, I guess. I mean, if you count the internet as war, I mean the world. Sorry, not war, even though that's horrible. A lot of thoughts about that too, but The internet is a connection to, you know, the human prospect of evolution. Before we, sent letters, had phone calls, now there's just this place where everyone is, where everyone's been on it. And, you know, there's no reason for some of the things to be there, and there's reason for some of the other things to be there, but it's really anywhere. That's like walking into a room with only one chair. You're like, why is this chair here? Right? Well, obviously someone was sitting in it. I don't know if that makes sense, but the internet is like that one chair you can sit in your own room or something. Usually I just look down at my hands, like, oh, okay, I'm still here, right? I don't know. That presence of mind can be the difference between someone who has valuable prospect of saying something and someone who just like doesn't get it. And I don't know. I like to understand things. Learning is a part of everything, really. You have to have that, fine line between like, okay, well, I'm gonna say something with the presence of mind and positively affect other people and have a profound impact rather than detracting, you know, in any way possible. And some people can be that way, you know. They can be an active detraction, or I don't know, maybe to say like they take something rather than give. And main stake issue and differences is that when you don't want to be around someone like that, you can leave, right? You can say like, I'm not going to be forced to be around this, and then you know, fucking see you later, weirdo, right? But I don't know. I guess like people can be very weird about that. Like, why isn't this guy like? Why doesn't he pay attention to me? Why is he like that? You know, or why are even in the standpoint of like a woman, like say like you're not interested in a woman at all. Don't Most likely, even a man, they're gonna be like, well, what's wrong with me? You know, and maybe something small, maybe something big, but that difference being is that choice, that you have between other people. But I don't know, core reasoning and thoughts and psychological premises aside, like this is a video game. You can sit and watch me talk. And, baseline is with those sorts of things, like, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. This guy, you know, he's uneducated. He doesn't know what he's saying. He doesn't. I'd um rather watch uh SpongeBob. Well, I mean, this is better than SpongeBob. Is this not better than SpongeBob? Like, come on. SpongeBob flips a burger and he laughs, and his annoying laugh is annoying, right? And he goes to Squidward. He goes to Squidward's house and he annoys the fuck or the frick. Excuse my language. but he knows a frick out of Squidward, and that's it. I'm a real person, not a sponge in a pineapple under the sea. So, and that's the difference. And when making something and appealing to other people, you garner attention in that way. It's not that it's wanted or even needed, but it does garner, some attention. That can be good, that can be bad, but for as long as I can remember, really, I've walked out of the house and I've been that like person for other people where I serve some sort of purpose in discussion or other people are speaking about me or, you know, even people my age, even people older serve, you know, they talk about me. I'll walk into the grocery store and it'll be like, oh, here comes this guy, you know, and they know me. They know me at the grocery store. Is that weird? No, I've lived here for my entire life. I would expect people to know me, you know, and especially the community that I live in. So it's not that type of world anymore where you can go around and, you know, not get noticed. There's social media, there's pictures, feelings, art, you know, and I do those things. I mean, I do art, I write, I'm a fan of literature, I'm educated, and that being the difference between some people and others, like their presence of mind. And I don't know, key difference, really, presence of mind. You take that moment to like realize you need to like be alone, and that's okay. It's not something to be angry about or even like sit there and brood over. It reminds me of a lot of mythology. You'll get up to the top of the mountain and realize there's, you know, the entire portion of the climb up there was supposed to be your journey rather than getting to the pinnacle and being rewarded. It was the process that mattered. It was the time it took to get up there and what you learned rather than, that end goal and outcome. But, once you get up there, what are you gonna do? You know, I've been on a few hikes. I love nature. It's partly why I like this game, but it's also something useful that I use in my like day to day where I sit down and I have like a brief moment to sit down and like gather my thoughts and be perceptive of the things like I need to, the important things. I've sat I've sat at this game is what I'm saying. I've sat at this game and been like, wow, I have bills to pay, but I'm running around on this like farming game. I'm so rich in the farming game, but not in real life, and that's funny. It's funny to me. It's an observation. You can have the difference being that, or even a juxtaposition. You know, live your life the way that you want to, and to spread that kindness through others. On the basis being that it's important to. It's important to be that person. It's important to have those values and, you know, I don't know. I don't know. Some people don't. I ran into a few weirdos on the internet who just don't have a filter. They don't know how to talk to people. Like, they don't know, like, a woman's boundaries or, like, even a man's boundaries. Like, if you can't understand a man's boundaries, then most likely you're not going to understand a woman's either, even less so, you know? That can be like, that can be good for you to realize that, or it can be bad, but it sure doesn't sit well with some archetypes and people on the internet. Because they're like, they'll go into a chat room and be like, why does this woman not like me? Why does, why am I not good enough? Like, well, there's your first issue, is that you're thinking that anyone is going to have, man or woman, anyone is going to have an interest in someone that speaks of it, you know? Or even like prior, like there's chat rooms, there's people who share things, and the way that use your mind against other people should never be against, you know? Should be all for, public interaction, even, and be a good person too. That's like riding the subway and not being a bystander to like hatred or even bigotry. You sit there and you know, you know what's okay and what's not okay. And in 2025, it's sort of, it should be expected at this point. It's baseline. It's bare minimum. And a lot of other things are bare minimum and never met, never even thought of, right? And even that's like a good like way to say like things you should be doing even in a relationship, you know? Like, oh, I'm not gonna get mad at my partner for not doing the dishes. I'm just gonna do them for them. I'm gonna do the dishes for them, not say anything about it. And that's bare minimum, you know? Or even like, hey, how about, you know, uh not not cheating on me. That's bare minimum, right? I don't know what kind of like relationship you have, but between two people and being in like a monogamous situation, that's, you know, those are terms that you set and boundaries that are important, you know, and it's bare minimum. It's just like once you get past all of that stuff, that should be like baseline. What do you have? You have something to actually work on. But I don't know. I don't um I don't have anything like that just to like preface or let you know. But I don't know. There's been some years before that, even after that, after the things that I've gone through where I don't have any interest anymore. But to give you a bit of advice, you know, bare minimum interactions uh, are not something that people who have expectations and people who have like others that understand them are gonna, put up with. I'm not gonna settle for the bare minimum, you know. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that that's even good because you should know that already, right? But I don't know, to get off that topic, other things in life are bare minimum. Like you shouldn't use, think, or even feel anything that relates to like racial slurs. You shouldn't use those, you know? How easy is that? Shouldn't say that. How easy is that? And that's bare minimum for some people, but a quote unquote choice for others, right? But I don't think that way, and I don't want to be around anybody who feels that way or thinks that way. And that interaction being just an observation of like the nature of the world. Like, what is it that you allow that other people don't? Or what is it that you don't allow and other people do, right? And there's a difference. Is because arguably, well, not even arguably, I know those things are wrong. I know, but do you? You know, even being like bigoted to anybody and someone, anybody who has like a different social standing or disparity, right? Someone say, you know, someone is a bit different than you. Do you opt to say something completely irrelevant, angry, and mean, or are you like a polite person? Do you hold the door open for the old woman who's in your way? Do you run ahead of the old woman and hold the door open for her? Or are you just a guy that's like, God, get the flip out of my way, old lady? And that's like judge of character. It's being a good person just here on earth. And we all are. It's a one giant rock, right? It's not essentially a rock, but it's a planet. It's got a gravitational pull, inertia, an orbit, things that things that like happen, phenomena, you know, there are cool things on Earth and there are uncool things, right? I'd say aliens, um, eh, ESP, electromagnetic signals from space. Um, there's spirits, mediums, and I can basically confirm all of this, but spirits, mediums, um, God, something other than humanity that exists here on Earth. I wouldn't say, there's any social definition of what um, the main stick difference in religion is, but as per writing and as per, literature, religious understanding, all of it is valid. Every single religion, every single prospect of humanity, you know, regardless of, where you live, how you feel, who you are, that's going to be here, you know? But yeah, some people have a deeper connection to spirituality, spiritualism, a deeper connection to the world even, and they're given purpose through that. You go through some self-defining, journey. or go through large amounts of trauma and have things happen to you. And, in some way, I'm sure that that makes the earth sad too. That that unjust portion of like frame of thinking is like not accepted in within other people, right? So you think like, you know, you think like how those things work, right? And I believe that's just karma, you know, karma in a way that, is different, right? At least I hope there would be, right? People deserve good people who bad things have happened to deserve some sort of, you know, way of thinking, or even not a reward, but for things to be, you know, straightened out and to be correct, and for you not to feel like the world is wronged you. And bad people, say like those bigots, or, someone who is, arguably just like not fun to be around, openly aggressive, or even, someone who commits acts of war. You'd hope like in just response that karma would set those things straight. And it's not like a my name is Earl kind of situation. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but it's not one of those things. It's like, okay, well, you know, gotta make things right in some way possible. At least that's what I believe in. I believe in a lot of other things too. But, you know, uh, Shifu say, uh, find yourself in oneself and in yourself before others, right? Find yourself and be content in yourself before projecting onto others, or do unto others what you do to yourself. And I don't like those kind of things. You know, I don't like being mean, saying mean things. I don't attack people. I don't, even if I'm riding the bus. Okay, I'm riding the bus. Some guy is sitting next to me, coughing on me. I'm not gonna be like, "Sir, why the fuck are you coughing on me?" I'm just gonna say, "Hey, here's my handkerchief. Here's my handkerchief, and also like I don't want to get pneumonia, so cover your mouth." You know, is that rude? Probably not, because the guy has pneumonia. You know, so you can't like he's feeling sick. Can't you got to think of like that social disposition in those same ways, but that could go for like a lot of things. And I think that's really just empathy. I'm empathetic to others in some way because I can see clear flaws. You can see like flaws in people very quickly if you're aware of them. And do you attribute that to like the way that they are or who they are, or do you just sit and say, "I'm accepting of your flaws and choosing to interact"? And that's a difference, you know, rather than focus on negative things, other than be that negative person who just can't get over it. You know, you give people a certain power to be themselves in comfort. It's comfortable to be around someone who is, accepting of those types of things. Someone who is like, I don't even care. You know, I care, but I don't care. So let's just have fun, you know, and that being the difference. That being the difference between like a good person and a bad one, right? Someone who just can't, like, they just don't get it. That's completely okay. Some people never will. Like, some people will never understand what it feels like to go through what you go through. They'll never get it. And you can just accept that as a lesson of life. There being a lot of other people, a lot of other things, a lot of other ways that people spend their time. And, you know, that's social disparity too. Social disparity that isn't oftentimes pointed out. I I don't know how many times I've ran into someone who just doesn't understand the assignment. Someone who attributes things to arbitrary reasonings and how they feel rather than honest understanding and an observation of truly what it is to be a person on earth, to have that baseline understanding. But you don't sit there and say it's the end of the world because this person is just stupid. You move on. You take the time to take the time or even a moment to just realize, like, okay, this person is just so stupid, never gonna get through, never gonna understand or get through to them. So yeah, I don't know. And you can choose to be around people. You can say, hey, I don't want to. I don't like you, you know? And you know, but usually when I say like I don't like someone, it's for a good reason. For a very, very good reason. So just from an educated standpoint, like I have to have a reason for everything. I have to sit here and like have a reason, you know? Oh, I don't like you because of things that I've seen in the past of you. And even then with media and the way that like social media and videos and stuff is, you know, having that research being done on someone, even prior to an interaction, you know, like you don't sit up and tell, you know, the politician who has committed a war crime that they're the best person in the world because they're not, you know, that person killed people essentially. It's not the greatest thing in the world and shouldn't be treated as not something you can. even glorify. But all seriousness aside, and topic and main stake portion being something different. Like even with media personalities, you don't have to like them. You don't have to sit here and glorify what they do because arguably they don't do a lot. You know, those people may work and be in the public eye, but not the greatest people that you can find. It's not, you know, Leonardo da Vinci or Mary. Like, it's not Vishnu or Buddha. You know, those are just like people who others pay attention to. You know, it's not the Prophet Muhammad that you're talking to. It's media personality, Steve. It's Minecraft, Steve. You're talking to instead, and that's okay. You know, I play Minecraft too. I like Minecraft, Steve. But Minecraft Steve is not gonna Minecraft Steve is not gonna have like all of the answers for you in life. Not gonna have that, you know? It's okay. Minecraft Steve starts with nothing in Minecraft. You have to go and get stuff for Steve. In the same way, you have to make those observations for yourself, or even as like a metaphor, you know, for everything. For everything you go through. It's like your day to day job and stress and paying bills and, you know, health insurance. I don't even have health insurance. Can you believe that? Can you believe that if I go to the doctor and I'm hurt, I'm seriously injured, they're like just they're not gonna treat me. They're gonna say like, well, you don't have this, so and then they'll turn you down. It's not the way things should be at all. I'm serious, but it's the world we live in. It's a time that like people spend thinking about these sorts of things, and arguably there's a lot wrong with with the world. There is, and if you can't see it, you might just be oblivious. You might just be blind to your own perception. There's a lot a person can do, and a lot a person can't. Right? That one person isn't going to solve all of the world's issues overnight. If I could wave my hand in front of something and say, now it is fixed, and I would, but it doesn't work like that. It's the things we do, the time we take, the people we meet, and all of it serving a purpose, singular importance of what is okay, and, love, really. Love. How about love, right? Other people choose hate, but how about love? You know? That's so simple to me. Just basic common sense to me. But for others, it's not. They need someone to sit there and educate them on how to feel properly, on how to think and, you know, be a good person. But if, but in all honesty, that's you should just be that way to begin with, right? Shouldn't have to ask you for that. Should just know. And by the way, I like the way this hat look. Little rat, give me a hat. The rat in the hat. That's better. You know what? That's better than a lot of things right there. It's just like taking a moment to be a little funny. That's a little funny. Right? Oh, little joke there. Sorry, excuse me. But yeah, I don't know. All jokes aside, like life isn't life isn't about like always going through good things either. Maybe bad. You have to like figure things out sometimes and be that person for others. Even if you're going through something, anything, could be anything. You just got fired at your job for no reason. You just got hit by a car. Some dude crashed into your car, and you have the bare minimum insurance, so it's not going to pay for it. And your mom died, and you know this is all adding up to that daily stressor that would be interacting with another person, and you just can't do it. But do you choose to say like to blame others for that kind of thing? You choose to be that dude who just like, you know, attacks other people for the sake of like what they're going through, project that in a way. That's not their fault. It's not my fault. Although all those things happened to me, but and I'm being honest, they're all of those things are what's happening to me right now. But I don't even know. I can't sit here and say that I can blame the earth, I'm not gonna blame anyone. Just gonna try to get through it. And people have outlets, this being one of them. So that's why I like this game. You can kind of sit here and just like talk, run around, not getting anything done in the game at all. But if you can see, like it's like very decorative and all put together. Like I spent actual hours of my time just making this like beautiful farm for this tiny little pixel woman to run around on. And that's what I take time to do so that I can, you know, so that I can feel like part of this is me, you know, part of it is me, part of it is you or viewer, and at the end of the day, it goes on to that platform and it goes on to the internet. It's there. That can be the difference. I've actually gone through like people recognize me. Just I don't know if it's because you know, I'm actually a well-known graffiti artist in Minneapolis, or if it's, the Twitch thing that I do, or if it's because my initials are on the top right corner of the dollar bill, the $1 bill, by the way. Just a bit of a cool fun fact, I guess. But it's not a full biopic that I want to do. It's not like a autobiography, and here's me just being a narcissist. You know, there's something to learn here, something to do for others, and to have a profound impact in some way on society, or even like just the people you meet. And you know, they're they're being like that difference. Who's here to help you, and who's here to hurt you? You know, and I'm agoraphobic. And if you don't know what that means, it means I don't like to be outside. It means I don't like to talk to other people because I always end up feeling bad that I can't do more for others. I can't wave my hand and say here, all of your medical bills are paid. Here, you have a home to live in. You know, I can't do that. What I can do, you know, and in personal experience, I drove across America, right? This happened I'll tell you a story, brief anecdote. 2 years ago, I'd say three now, I drove, I was getting ready to commit suicide. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to say it flat out. I was getting ready to commit suicide, to go and kill myself. Okay. So I lived with my parents at the time, and I was there because of my little brother. He's a he's a little small little guy, and during childhood, there are those years that are key and integral to a person's development, like certain developmental stages that a child must meet, and that has to do with reading level, education, emotional stability, having people that a person who's growing can rely on. So I lived with my parents because of it, because I wanted to be there for them. And anyways, so I'm getting ready, um, because I didn't want to. I couldn't prior to this. I couldn't find like I don't want to say this and have you think I'm crazy, but I couldn't find a good spot in my state to do it. To I want to end my life here, you know, and I don't need a GPS in my state. I've done so many jobs, so many Door Dashes, Uber Eats deliveries, Uber Eats rides, ride share. I've worked for delivery companies. I've been in every restaurant, and when a new one pops up, I go and visit it, and there's that too. But um, so I don't need a GPS, but there's other places that I haven't seen. Even in America, I've been. to all 50 states, but never the back alley roads and beautiful places that, you know, that serve a purpose too. And getting to know an area and being around, you know, those types of things, it just comes with living there, like seeing things, going and finding those hidden spots that are very cool, but you don't share with anyone, you know? Like for me, like I have a few waterfalls and other places that I go to like clear my thoughts and, you know, be genuine. Like place is genuinely beautiful and I'm there, but it's also like I don't want to take or show anyone that because will they enjoy it correctly? Will they, you know, just kind of like trash the whole place or, appreciate it for what it is. So, anyways, so I was getting ready to go and kill myself somewhere else to commit suicide. I was done, and I had planned it and thought about it. And so I leave my house and I start driving and I start driving. And at first, it's just like a drive to clear my mind, right? Clear up, like go and think. I love driving. It's very fun for me. And, it's where I like sort of connect with, that portion of myself because I'll be alone and then I can look at nature. You want to be aware of where the way that a building or even nature is, and be aware of the motor vehicle as well. But you look at the side of the window, and places pass, and it's beautiful. So I like that sort of thing. But anyways, I leave out of my house and I start driving, and the drive was initially supposed to be something different. I was supposed to be going somewhere else, staying and working, and but I just keep driving. I end up in a state, you know, over. I end up in one state over. I think to myself, well, might as well just do it now, right? So I start driving, and I'm one state over, and I check my bank account, and I don't have any money in it whatsoever. That's okay. Like I pay my bills, and at the end of the day, you may end up with like the budgeting factor. You're on a budget, and that's what everybody has to go through. You sit there and plan it all out, budget. And this is the money I have for groceries. This is the money I have for, to spend, freely, which normally doesn't end up being a lot, depending on what you do. But I look at my bank account, I don't have any money. So I'm one state over already, and I've already decided. So I start doing Uber Eats deliveries. I drive straight to the state capital of the state that I'm in, you know, and I start doing Uber Eats deliveries there. And I make enough money just to get it over to the next state, right? But when I arrive at these state capitals, people are living in like 10 cities. I have, to preface this, I had all of my personal belongings within the car because I was planning just to, like, that's the way they find me. There's all my stuff and, you know, a note on my computer. But anyways, I drive straight to the state capitol and I start doing deliveries. And, if you know and do like delivery orders and in the app, you don't make a lot really relatively quickly. So I spend like a full like 2 days in each in the state capital, just getting enough money to fill my gas tank and to be able to drive, over to the next state. All the while, I'm like still thinking like I gotta find a place to like take my own life, and it got to be that way through years of what I go through, what I have been through, and stuff like that. So I'm doing these deliveries, and I'm noticing like the tent cities and people who are, arguably they're people not even connected to me, but I still feel this like empathy, especially because you know if I'm not going to be here anymore, I might as well, like make an impact. So after I collect enough money to to you know get get to the next day because I'm still actively looking, actively like looking around me to find certain things and like a good place to do it. Because like when you're about to die, you'll see signs of it. Like, and in my head, there being like that vision of the way it happened and what I plan to do. And, you know, um, I don't know. That can be scary. And you can see that in a lot of other places and a lot of other people in personal accounts of people who have died and come back to life or have been like resuscitated in some way. And that's a spiritual connection to the world. But so I'm driving and I'm making enough money to fill my gas tank and then, enough money for me to eat, and I don't eat a lot. It's, you know, maybe enough for like a trip to the gas station and a chicken sandwich that they have. Because I like the gas station. I'm vegetarian, but I like the gas station chicken sandwich. I'm not wrong for that. But so I'm doing this and starting to I'm starting to notice different things about the environments that I'm in and the way things are. So instead of like doing my Uber Eats deliveries, instead of doing my Instacart deliveries, start canceling them. Like people will order food, I'll go to the restaurant, or people will order groceries and I'll go to the grocery store, pick up all the groceries and cancel the order midway through. And then just start handing the food out to the people who are, you know, on the street, the people I drive past, you know, and all the while, I'm meeting and connecting with people and asking about their personal lives and experiences. And like, what are you going through? Man, how are you? And do you need a ride? And, how about some food? And I have just, you know, what I have. Even going as far as to like, I, in the, and this is after one state over, but in the middle of Denver, Colorado, I give this homeless man my guitar, the guitar I've had for longer than I care to admit. And I don't know. So this process, leads me through the Midwest, down through Colorado, all the way to through Arizona. I've never been to Arizona before, so I was like, okay, well, I'll go check it out. I always wanted to know what the big idea was. Like, does Arizona actually suck? The way people say, like, it's so hot. There's nothing to do. But I get there and it's a beautiful state, and the architecture is a little different. Like, there's like pueblos, and like sandstone buildings and stuff. But all the way through Arizona, um, through the Four Corners, which is Nevada, Colorado, um, and on the U.S., like there's an intersection where all four of those dates match up, and there's like a park there. But so I'm driving through America and all of the plain states and stuff, all the while canceling these orders and delivering the food to people who are less fortunate. And I'm meeting people, but my phone at the time is like going crazy. It's AWOL, it's being controlled or something. Like something noticed me, something took its time, or like even a group of people, noticed me or took its time to just like sit there and watch instead of help, And I knew, like, out of that perception, someone is clearly watching me, you know, and I don't like that at all, right? I don't like the prospect of someone having a video of me committing suicide, you know, because I wanted it, and that's mine. You can't take that from, can't, can't rip that from my hands and tell me I'm wrong for not, you know, liking you enough to let you watch me commit suicide, right? And that's baseline, right? It's like, why the fuck would I want you there, you know? Sorry, but usually don't swear that way, but it's fine. But yeah, why the flip would I want you there, dude? And as I'm helping these people and people who are in need and they're going through food insecurity, there's a lot of fentanyl, you know, and like drugs and other things that are just like confusing to me. I've never been a drugs person. I've never even, you know, even entertained prospect of like I'm gonna go out and snort something. Why would you ever? It's disgusting, right? Put it in your nose, snort it. Like no, the fuck, right? I'm sorry. Like I'm not judgmental at all, but it's just like, dude, there's so many other fucking things you could be doing instead of just like fucking off, right? But so I'm driving, meeting these people, and I'm seeing the issues with like the areas that I'm in, and meeting a lot of them because like they're grouped together. People are grouped together for warmth, albeit it was during the winter too, for warmth, albeit or something else, you know. And I don't know, there being like a lot of fentanyl and people doing drugs and that affordability of it. Because if you go like anywhere, like you'll start to see it, you know? And the difference being like some people are sectioned away from that portion of society and by means of class, but it's more common for like a person who is not in that class or a social class to be doing something like that. So, anyways, I'm driving through, canceling these orders, and delivering the food to people in need. And it can be a lot of food too, you know, like a whole 2 boxes of Chinese food may feed you for uh, a day, but it'll feed another person for say a week or say like you know say even like 2 weeks as long as you refrigerate it and it's wontons. So, but yeah, I'm doing this, and obviously something is watching me, taking note of the way that I'm acting or what I'm doing. And I'm just like, really? You know, I'm sitting there just as a person. Really? You're gonna watch me instead of help? So I start to get like a little morally misconstrued. You know, you're gonna watch me kill myself and help these people instead of doing anything, anything, doing anything for me or anyone else. You know, and that is a difference. I think I was talking about earlier, where um, you know, you can make that choice. You make that choice, right? But it seemed rather interesting to whatever it was, who I was, or who I am, and me out of the prospect of education and who I am, because to me, I'm educated past the point of a master's degree. So, and I can get the placard and the degree and, you know, have that. But there's a lot of other things going on with me. So, but anyways, I'm doing this and something takes note and I notice it and I'm not okay with it. I'm not okay with that feeling of being watched as if like I'm an animal in my car, you know? Oh, this guy is gonna, everybody, hey, everybody, this guy's gonna go commit suicide. Let's watch him through his technology. No, no, you know? And disgusting, that disgusting mindset, mindset and placement. of those people because it wasn't just one person. And I know it's not just one person, you know? And if you know, you know, right? So, anyways, I'm doing that, but I'm also helping these people and having like an impact, trying to have like some social promiscuity of like a relationship with someone, temporarily for the time I'm in their life, giving them advice, asking them questions. What is one lesson that, has been taught to you throughout life or that you've, you know, been or came in an understanding with throughout your experiences of the hardship of the world? Because everyone goes through that. And that was the question, that I asked. I mean, asked that previously to other people, within life. That's actually my favorite question that I ask because more often than not, you'll get an answer from someone who has gone through something. You know, you get a real answer, a real like discussion, and here's my bit of wisdom, you know, that I've spent over the years of my life trying to find, right? So I'm doing all that and connecting, and it's a bit Freudian. I don't know if you know this, but Sigmund Freud would do the same thing to people in public, except he'd ask them like psychological questions. And it wasn't about psychology, it was more about like, what could I learn from the world, and these people who seem to, be going through something. Um, and to have that social position be so apparent, but there being no difference between you and me, you know, there being zero difference between who I am and who you are, and that respect being extended to them and to others that I interact with. So, when I'm driving and I drive through Arizona, I live in the northern, I don't want to, it's fine. I live in Minnesota, so that's the top of the country, basically near the Great Lakes. And, you know, I've been to all 50 states at this point. So I know like the highways, Route 66, uh, and how to get through the country because I've driven there and I've driven it and down through Florida, Maine, Massachusetts. I've been in New York, drove that entire, you know, highway or toll highway down through New York and into Washington, D.C. I've seen that, down through Florida. And that's the whole, East Coast of the country. But I drove through, all the way down through Illinois, through the Midwestern plain states. And, you know, I end up in Arizona and then I go over to New Mexico and I'm in Albuquerque. And all the while, this entire time, I'm meeting people and trying to have that momentary, profound impact that would otherwise not be there. And I'm bringing food and useful stuff. I'm handing out water bottles. Like I went and bought. I did like a delivery and bought like two or three of those big. jugs of water bottles that are all in like a pack, and I'm handing them out because like you know that is one thing that a person needs. They need food and water. You know, that's the most I could do at that point. And I made that judgment to do that, but I'm driving through and I end up um, coming in contact. Like one guy needed a ride. You know, he was cool. But he was rather threatening. Like he was gonna like steal my car and like hurt me. So I was like, dude, just get out of my car. Like I'm like, don't do that. You know. All right. Like another one stopped and like I gave another person a ride and he pulls out a crack pipe. And I'm like, you're not riding in my car with a crack pipe. I even pull that up. And he offered me. He offered me the crack. I was like, dude, that's not cool. Dude, it's not cool to offer me crack. Okay, I don't want any of your crack, dude. But like that's the nature of these issues that like I was like observing, you know, that people so openly make it apparent what they're about. And what I'm about may be completely different. And maybe something that, you know, some answer I was trying to find. But so I'm driving through the country doing all of this and, you know, still thinking actively I need to find a place to commit suicide. And, you know, like over that time, like you start to understand and, you know, with that acceptance, because I was, you know, fully willing to do it. It's not like I wasn't, like I had the rope, you know, even like I had the rope in my car with me. And I'm just looking for a spot to do it. And that may be sad to hear, but you know, it's the nature of it all. But so I end up in Arizona. Like, oh, this place is nice. I, I'm sleeping in my car. It's not like a Motel 6 situation. Like I said, I don't have a lot of money, and I did it at the time. So I was sleeping in my car with my blankets and pillows, and I would lock my car and park it in a safely safe spot, relatively lit or something. I don't know. There being like a in America, you can park on the side of the road and that's legal, but it wasn't like that. It was I would go find like a decent little spot to like sit and secluded and just like go to sleep. I don't sleep a lot to begin with, so I was mostly driving. But over the course of this time period, which ended up being weeks of my life, I'm meeting these people, and I'm in Arizona, and then I'm in New Mexico, and I end up in Albuquerque. I meet this woman, and she needs like help, but you know, over the course, like seeing the issue of like fentanyl and and like the drug problems that America is going through and things like that. You know, things that like I don't identify with, but there being like something there I can do. You know, here's food instead of drugs. You know, and I don't know. I meet this woman and she sort of like stops to speak with me. You know, asks me for a ride, and I'm not a creep. And then she was walking around, you know, by herself. She was very beautiful, just as a person. She was also homeless, right? I'm like, she probably shouldn't be walking around by herself, especially at night. Like a lot of creeps out there. Seriously. So she stops. She's like, "Hey, can I get a ride?" I'm like, "Okay, well, sure, I guess." I'm not one for any of these creeps that are in that way. So she jumps in my car. We have like discussions, and it's like a platonic thing. It's not like, like this woman wants to sleep with you type thing. It's like, can you help me? You know? And I don't know. I just got to that understanding with it after she like shared with me everything that happened to her. And I don't know. Over that, I sort of lost um that propensity to look for anything really out of other people. And she was so pretty, you know. She was very, very pretty and very beautiful person. But she took me back to her family, right? And she was around my age. So like being 23 and taking me back to your family was living in a tent on the side of like a highway, you know. I'm sitting there like, you don't deserve this. You don't, you know, you deserve more. And I don't know, but that propensity, like, I lost a little bit of like faith in the world. Lost part of that, I guess, in the entire process. And then people watching too, knowing that I'm going through it, you know, just it just doesn't sit well with me in that aspect of like, I have a lot of love for the world, a lot of love for a lot of things and respect it. But, in the nature of man, in the nature of person, who you are and what you do and who you're around and the choices you make, that can sort of like take away from other people. And it took from me. It did. And to be honest with you, I still probably haven't worked through that fully. And it takes years to think about the propensity of trauma, you know, seeing all those people, you know, being around all those people who have gone through some of the same things that I've gone through, or even seeing like drugs, crime, murder, even. One guy got into my car and he started talking about how his cousin was a murderer. And I was like, really? You're not going to murder me, are you? He's like, no, but here. And he began to like talk about that part where it's like, people can be affected by the actions of others, not only within your family, but like, the people that guy murdered, apparently, their family went after, his family, which actually led him to be homo. So, what goes around, it may not always, be correct. That's, it seems a bit improper to say that's just, but I don't know. But yeah, so I end up in Albuquerque and, you know, people are doing fentanyl, and fentanyl is severely addictive, and throughout the Midwest, even Colorado, there being 10 cities, people with these blue pills, and they're very cheap. I'm talking like $5 for one of them. And it almost seems like people are just handing them out. And here I am, indifference, handing out food and trying to find some answer or why the things are like that, you know? And I'm educated, I'm one for research, not that it wasn't a real, thing, but statistical analysis and census will never fully understand, the way that other people are and that sensitivity. So, yeah. And then, my living in my car the entire time. So, and I drive through New Mexico. I stop and have that brief interaction with that woman. Nothing happens between us, but she was a very beautiful person. I mean, like just going through all of it. And why would I ever, be like enlist that sort of thing? I'm there for there to help, not for all that. So, but um, I'm driving through Kansas too. Like I go from New Mexico, and then I, make the decision, you know, because I called my parents, and you know, in New Mexico, I stopped my car and outside of I'm outside of um miles outside of the capital of New Mexico, and there's a highway, and I stopped my car. It's the middle of the night, like 4 a.m., and there are semis and people driving past, going, more than 100 miles an hour because it's, they're on their way out of the state type thing. So I park my car, I get out of my car, I walk to the side of the road, and I begin to like walk forward and like, okay, this is how it's gonna happen. Like, going through those thoughts and that acceptance, like, okay, this is how I'm gonna take my life, that thing. And and I'm walking, and um, like semis at night not being able to see me are just like driving hundreds of miles an hour, and I'm on the side of the road and I'm walking forward, and right before I'm able to step in front of the semi, I'm just frozen in place. Like my feet wouldn't move, and I couldn't push forward or even, even if I tried. And and I did. I did try to. I would wait for, I would, you can see the lights down the road of, of a car, and know the difference between a car and a semi, you know, and sat there for longer for a bit. Okay, I sat there just like frozen in place, standing there wondering why why I can't, you know, why couldn't everybody walk in the road. And I don't think that that question will ever be answered for me. These are questions that I don't have answers for. I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer for why I couldn't do it. But I realized I couldn't. I couldn't. And I don't know. So I go back to my car, sleep, and then I decide to to go back home. I decide to drive back home. So, but all the while, I'm still doing what I was doing before, and and I don't know. That's just like part of like something like people will never get. I guess people won't get that part about you, and they'll never understand, what you feel or what you're going through at all. And you don't have to try to get through to them. You don't have to say they're wrong. You could just like leave it be. You don't have to get it. You know, but drove through New Mexico, and then in order to get back, I needed to pick a route specific to what I was doing. So I drove through New Mexico, and my car breaks down in Kansas as I'm driving back up to the northern portion or through the Midwest, the southern portion of the Midwest near Texas, and my car breaks down in Kansas, and I got to go get it fixed, and I don't have any money to do so. So I'm stranded at this gas station, and you know, like a lot of things socially might be common to you, common to you, but uncommon for other people. And, you know, progressive states are different than those that are that allow like open racism to exist. People flying like KKK flags on the back of their car, or even Trump. You know, even the Trump flag to me is a very clear indicator of a racist. To me, at least, you know, that flag is a very clear indicator. Like this person may be racist, you know? That's what I attributed to. So, anyways, I drive through, I drive all the way up. I'm on a spare tire the entire time, and my car breaks down. I gotta go and get it fixed. So I stop to like work a little bit, and I don't know. I end up getting back home, and I don't have very many friends, and no one to share that with, or what I've gone through, or the trauma surrounding it, everything I've seen, and I don't know, that leading to other things that have happened to me. So I guess like at the end of the day, you know, I went back to working in manufacturing in a factory, you know. I went back to being on my feet for 12 plus hours a day, trying to pay my bills. So, but yeah, I guess it's a moral of the story. I guess if it can really be attributed to really anything, is that you know you make those choices, you know, as a person to do and say whatever you feel, you know, but you know try to be mindful. I guess 'cause you never really know what a person is about at all. You never know if you know this guy's or gal has been through something, or if when you speak, however it is that you feel that you want to, it can have like a can have an effect on the way that like people perceive you and who you are, and karmically, you know, you think you're gonna want good things to happen to good people. You know, you want good things to happen to good people, and bad things to happen to bad ones. But it may not always be though. And I suppose that's what doesn't match up with me, at least what from what I've seen. But yeah, this is a video game, right? Yeah. This is a video game. Like I like it. Good. Right. I don't know. I have a bunch of different stories I can tell. I figured I'd tell that one. Figured I'd tell that one, and I kind of want to see the catchphrase, you know, again. I like the catchphrase, you know. Also, for example, for example, he sounds kind of narcissistic, but here's this guy. This guy is the guy who did the federal currency. His name is G. Boggs. MSG is J-pop. He died in 2017. He died in 2017, but he did the art for the federal currency for the U.S. I knew this guy, like from childhood. Yeah, I don't know. I was relatively young when I met the guy, and I don't know. Yeah, it gave me his personal recount of like life, and also like it sort of like taught me principles of art and how important it can be. But what I was referring to earlier is this part right here. Good friend, good friend of mine, inside joke and secret. Um, just those are my initials. AX right above that little figure. They call it a figure. Some people call it an owl. To me, it looks like a spider, but right above it, my initials. And I don't know, it's pretty cool. Doesn't mean I'm rich and fit or anything. It doesn't mean like I'm wealthy or anything. It's a cool little tidbit about nature of art and what's truly important. This guy was 62 when he died, so he was like an old guy that I would talk to. And in college, like I did some things, like some art and stuff that he got to see and stuff like that. But yeah, so I was talking about it. So that's me. Little A and X. It's my name. My name is Xavier, but those are my initials. And you know, now I want to be the catchphrase guy. So, welcome back to catchphrase. Welcome back to catchphrase. The only show where basic common sense is rewarded.
Sticks to your ribs, Susan. But anyway, good luck, players, and let's play catchphrase. Here's how we do it. Our computer will animate a popular catchphrase just like this one. Take a look. Audience, we have the world.
We already seen this episode. Go over here. Let's see. Let's see. Let's do Lawrence versus Todd.
With Liberty Mutual, you can customize and save. Oh.
Phrase. 9 squares hide it. Our computer is flashing those squares.
Aaron Scott versus James.
The button, you'll stop the computer. That's your square, and here's what's behind it, Scott.
Yonder.
No. All right, stand by, everybody. We're coming back in a moment to pick up play after these words. Watch. Okay, we're back in play. Scott won the first round with $600, but we're putting $300 into the bank for each toss-up catchphrase, correctly identified toss-up catchphrase in this round. Let's take a look at our next one on the screen.
I don't know it. Time runs out. What kind of design is that? That is not obvious at all.
Now, what is that man wearing for a shoe? We've put on his foot, we've put a saddle. Saddle shoe. There's
What?
the catchphrase. On we go with our next
What?
toss-up. Take a look at this.
I know. Balance beam.
Jane.
Beam walking.
No, that's not it. Scott.
Being on the wire?
No, think gymnastics. What kind of that beam up there is trying to balance itself? So balance beam is
Nice.
our catchphrase.
Nice.
On we go with our next.
All right.
Take a look at this one.
Oh, this one, reverse psychology.
Jane.
Backward psychology.
No, that's not it. Scott.
Reverse psychology.
You got it. Reverse psychology.
Once again. Fuck you, Scott.
And the bank is up to $600 now as we show Scott another part of our super catchphrase. Hit that button, Scott, and take a look at this.
I want Jane to win because she's pretty.
What do you think, Scott? With all the money in the bank?
The wild blue clouds.
Nope, that's not it. On we go, players. You're both back in play as we show you another catchphrase. Watch. Scott.
Maypole.
Maypole, you've got it. All right.
God, I hate you.
$900 in the bank. Can he guess the super catchphrase after seeing this part of it? Watch. For $900, Scott?
Beach umbrella?
No. All right, players, you're both in play as our computer gives you your next catchphrase. Here it is. Scott.
Split staircase?
No, split staircase.
Okay, maybe the decent guy. Sorry, Scott.
Case is not it. Jane?
Sidestep.
No. We have the word side, but in the word side, we have a step. So our catchphrase is step inside.
What? Jane was correct. I don't care. Her answer is better.
And we have another toss-up coming up for you right now. Watch. Oh, Scott couldn't wait to buzz in. And what do you say, Scott?
Honeymoon.
Honeymoon. Right.
Never mind. Anyways, that just made me sad. Never mind. Anyways, I like this game because I like the show because there's a.
Customize and save with Liberty Mutual.
Let me turn off the ad. The little peanut guy. I like the peanut. Like the little guy. Little peanut guy. Yeah, like this one's over like. This one's a big dipper. Right? You gotta see that. But he's always yellow peanut. Well, yellow guy. Always doing something. There he is. Can't say it. Can't say it anymore. But No one was reaching for the stars. Sorry, I gotta shut this off. This one doesn't make sense at all. But yeah, little yellow peanut guy runs out. It looks so happy, right? Looks like a good guy. They're just like catch rate, right? But if you think like this little yellow peanut guy from the '80s might have, you know, inspired a lot of other things. Doesn't he look like Charlie Brown? And Charlie Brown is in the newspaper, the funny pages, like section in like a square. Same way catchphrase got is, you know. So you can kind of like thinking it as like a reference to everything. Might have even inspired commercials. Might have inspired like a lot of other stuff, like art, right? Beautiful works of art. And Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown inspired Calvin and Hobbes, and Calvin and Hobbes is the same thing, but different art style. He's in red, right? Same thing. When I was younger, I mean, like I used to read books and manga, but this art style, I like it. It's like it's very colorful. Like if you think like mosaic, even the watercolor, the forms of watercolor backgrounds that Calvin and Hobbes is sort of like Claude Monet. I'll show you a brief example. But see, um, there being an entire book of these um, types of things, and even here, there's a reference, right? Hobbes and Snoopy, you know, very cool thing. But yeah, usually they're in watercolor and sort of blend together. I can find like the actual books and stuff, but I used to just admire admire how well made these things are. But in the newspaper, the it's in black and white. Books, the books have color, and you know, sort of the same way that Monet would paint. And if you don't know Claude Monet, I mean, he has a number of paintings that are world renowned. So that inspiration being sort of the same thing, I guess. I don't know. I always appreciated that like different artists have different inspiration. You know, you can kind of see cross parallel sort of relationship between the catchphrase, Tina and Charlie Brown, and that inspiring other forms of art. So, so yeah, the mic is being messed with, so sorry for audio crunching, but yeah, super cool. And even the catchphrase guy, um, he evolves. Peanut is throughout history and a different design. Think of him as that. It can be very weird sometimes. But a little sentiment would be this. Little, I like it. Like what? What is this? Look at this. What is this animation? Right? What is this cap animation? Right? So glad they didn't make it. This guy got a better design than this. What is he doing? I don't know. He's got like a top hat and stuff. I think that's cool. So glad they didn't go with this one. This one's just crazy. But yeah, I don't know. That's how he started. And I love you. I love you. Yellow peanut. That'll be it for now. Thanks, I guess. Listen to the music for a sec.